Today we're sailing to Dominica from the Saints. Just checked out of Guadalupe and we've got about a 20-mile sail. Our wind gear's not working, but we're guesstimating the wind's about 20 knots true wind speed, so we're close hauled and feeling about 25 knots on the sails and doing about 8 knots on the way to Dominica. Catching a bit of water over the bow, but it's all good. A little bit of swell, but maybe 1.5 meters, something like that. And a little bit of current against us, but basically we're having a good sail. It's the Saints out behind us, and this is the obligatory wake video. Got the Frenchy flag flying still. We'll drop that shortly and put the quarantine and the Dominica flag up. At the moment we've got one reef in the main, mainly because we had it in last sail and we didn't bother taking it out. But it's probably a good thing because the boat's nicely balanced and we're sitting on a nice speed at the moment, very comfortable. Beautiful day, not many clouds, which is good because often the clouds are squalls, so we have to deal with those, reef or change course, so on. But it's a nice steady breeze, like I said, about 20 knots maybe a little bit more, maybe 25, but we're cruising along nicely with one reef in the main. At the moment we're doing 8 knots through the water, 7.5 knots over ground, so we've got a little over half a knot of current against us, and as you can see our wind gears stopped working, so I think we might have a slightly corroded connection at the masthead, which means I'll be probably going up the mast when we reach our destination and giving it a clean up. There's our plotter giving us some information about the course, showing us where we're headed and some other general information. We've got a waypoint plotted that we're heading towards, so it's telling us that we're doing about 7 or 8 knots in that direction, and we should be there in about an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 50, something like that. That waypoint is Portsmouth, Dominica, so we're sailing along fairly close hauled. The wind's about, well, we don't have our wind instruments, but so we're just doing it old school, looking at the Windex on the mast, and the apparent wind is around about 40 degrees off the bow, so we're fairly close hauled. Sails are fairly tight in. And not the most comfortable point of sail for us. Running downwind and down swell is generally a lot more comfortable, but Safina's very comfortable today, just dancing over the swells, making nice speed and enjoying the sunshine in the Caribbean. The wind's probably picked up about 25 knots true now. It's probably a bit hard to see on the video, but there's quite a bit of white horses being, the tops are being blown off the wave, white caps basically, stretching out to the horizon. So 25 true would be putting around about 30 knots apparent on our sails as we sail on this course. We're still with one reef in the main and full jib, but we're steadily making good speed, still doing 8.5 knots through the water. As you can see, we have a little bit more current against us now, almost a knot, which is partly the current, which is continually running through at a bit over half a knot here, and also the effect of the wind on the surface. We have some surface current, which is coming from directly upwind, probably at about 3 knots at the moment, but because we're not heading directly upwind, we're just feeling a part of that current. So we're feeling almost a knot, around about a knot of current against us, which is okay because we've got enough wind to still make good speed towards our destination. Then above the helm, we have the radio here, VHF radio, which gives us weather updates occasionally in French. If Jen's around, she can translate those for us, but also for emergency calling and general calling other ships. And above the helm we have 3 winches. This one is electric. These 2 are manual. This one handles all the halyards, so we have the topping lift, the main sail halyard, the spinnaker halyard and the jib halyard. And so we just run those onto the electric winch when we want to raise the mainsail, and it's 2-speed, so we have high and low gear for raising sails and trimming. So then we have our 2 manual winches. Here we keep the jib sheet, the port jib sheet, just neatly stacked on top there, ready to use and ready to run onto this winch if we need to. And over here we have the starboard jib sheet, runs back through a jamming fleet and to this winch here. And in the middle we have 3 reefing lines, so this is quite easy. We can reef everything from here, control all the sails and operation from this position, and if we're feeling lazy we just run any of these sheets or reefing lines back to the electric winch, so we can run them from one side across to the electric winch to trim if we want to, or we can leave them on their individual winches. So down below we have a bag that has our main sheet this side and our reefing line is this side. So basically we have all our lines neatly separate and ready to use at an instant, nothing getting tangled. It's not much use trying to put everything in the bag because you'll just end up with a big mess, and if you need to let go a sheet in a hurry, it's going to be a problem. So it works very well like this. We also have our jib furler. So furling jib runs back and down onto the side of the rail there and up to our electric winch. So below there we have the engine controls, revs, starting and stopping the engine, forward, reverse, neutral here, and of course the wheel, which at the moment is under autopilot, and you can see it just moves around a little bit trying to keep track. The waves are throwing us off track occasionally a little bit, so the pilot has to slightly changing course. You can also see on the pilot head control, if I can hold the camera still, the small green and red line at the top is the trim of the rudder. So you can see it going slightly to starboard occasionally, slightly to port, mostly to starboard at the moment, which gives us good indication on the balance of the helm. If it's trying to hold it too much to starboard all the time, it probably means we have too much mainsail up, and the boat's trying to turn up into the wind, so that's a good indicator that you may need to put a reef in just to keep the boat balanced. And also at the helm we have our little enclosed bimini. It's a bit like a tent, basically. It's canvas on top with a clear window to see the sails through. And some zippers to open or close it up. In bad weather, maybe at night, or if it's raining, we might zip up the front screen and maybe the side screen, but generally we'll have those open so we can feel the breeze and have a better view. There's a yacht just sailing by to windward up there. He's a monohull and he's headed in the opposite direction. He's well clear of us, so we don't have to take any avoidance manoeuvres to give him more space. At the moment we're on a port tack. He's on a starboard tack, so here's the stand-on vessel, which basically means that it's up to us to give way to him and give him enough sea room to safely navigate past us. But he's probably a quarter mile to windward of us, so no problem there. He's got a full genoa and one reef in his main as well, and he's tracking along nicely, probably doing a similar speed to us. He's probably has the wind more on the beam or slightly aft of the beam than us, because we're heading slightly upwind at the moment. You might be able to see on the plotter that we have a AIS target ahead of us, showing a yacht about 2.5 miles away, but we can see quite clearly that his track is quite a bit below, probably at least a quarter mile to the leeward of our course. So we don't have to compensate for him at all, change course or anything. But yeah, we still need to keep a good lookout for him, and also any other yachts. You know, occasionally you'll see the AIS target and you'll look up and see a yacht on the horizon and think, okay, it's all good, but often the yacht on the AIS might be obscured behind the jib, and you're actually looking at a different yacht that is going to come on a different course to what you think it is. So we'll keep an eye on the target on the screen, and we'll also keep an eye on the horizon for yachts, him as well as any others that might not be displaying their position. Very steady conditions today. It's pretty rare actually to have such steady conditions even in the trade winds. You generally get a bit more variation in wind strength and direction, but today's been pretty much 20-25 knots the whole way across, or the last couple of hours, and the sea states remain pretty much the same at around about 1.5 meters of swell, and probably doesn't show up so well on the video. Generally waves and the sea tends to look a lot flatter, but conditions are very good. Not perfectly flat, like sailing somewhere like between the islands in the BVIs is a bit like sailing on a lake, a little bit of chop, but here we have a bit of swell, but nothing that's bothering Safina and not bothering us.